Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Nate from Evil Master Gaming. I'd just like to post up a little Elite Dangerous video here for those of you who are thinking about buying it and want sort of a breakdown on how the game plays on a gamepad, in particular a PlayStation 3 controller, which I know a lot of people have been using on their PCs for quite some time. The game does come with the obvious automatic Xbox support, so the interface is going to be requesting those Xbox buttons as opposed to the square, circle, X triangle scheme that you would be used to on a PlayStation remote. But for most of us playing PC games, that's something we've all gotten used to. One of the tricks that I have is I just keep my Xbox controller on the desk around close by, and you know, if I have a brain fart, I can always just look at it, right? But that doesn't really happen very often. So the control on the PlayStation controller seems to be the superior way of controlling the game. Now, I know a lot of people are using HOTAS setups, different, you know, they have their joystick and pedals and all that, and that's great for simulation and for immersion. But if you're looking for pure functionality in the game, I'm highly going to recommend using a gamepad. The PS4 controller is one thing that I'm going to be getting for myself, as not only, like the PS3, you have the keyboard attachment, but if you remember the PlayStation's keyboard mounted on the top, it wasn't really as easy to reach for people with smaller hands. I didn't have an issue, I got long thumbs. But I know for a lot of people it would be really hard to reach those while holding the controller naturally. The product that I've seen is not made by Sony, but it is a attachment for the PS4 controller that gives the same style keyboard as seen on the Xbox 360 controller, with the addition of the PlayStation 4 having the mouse trackpad in the center of it. Which would give you complete and entire control over the game's features, no matter the playstyle. I know when I'm in an intense dogfight, I tend to put the controller down and get on the mouse and keyboard, because the mouse really does offer that smooth input control and precision that you would want to have an advantage in a dogfight. I'm hoping that by using the trackpad and the keyboard on the controller, as well as the analog functions, that I'm actually going to gain a significant advantage over that, as I won't have to put the controller down. It takes time. And I could simply just use the non-inverted mouse input on the center of the pad for fine control if I'm having a hard time keeping a quick moving target in my crosshairs, or someone who's performing some form of evasive maneuver. I haven't had a chance to really fully test out combat on the controller yet, but I can imagine that it will be difficult in all scenarios, not just the type of dogfighting that I've been doing, which is bounty hunting in resource extraction sites, which, as we all know, is not, a terribly difficult scenario to kill those NPCs. Player versus player combat is something that I'm finding myself less and less interested in right now, due to the amount of cheating and griefing going on in the game. I don't want to bash it, but what I've gone ahead and done, which I hope you will all do, is joined a private group. The one I joined is Morbius. I haven't actually really talked to anybody here yet, but I also haven't had any issues with griefing, so hopefully it stays that way. It's a PvE group. Just going into, I wanted to show the functions of the controller to show that they are actually, you really get all of your options are there. Your landing gear is square down, your cargo scoop is square up. You can change your targets by holding down the triangle and hitting the D-pads in different directions. Left cycles targets, forward is forward target, back is hostile targets. It's all there. Your landing gear is controlled with the circle key, pressing back. Circle left and right gives you your ship's computers, and circle forward at this point in time seems to do nothing. I actually thought that that was bound to zooming in on the radar screen. I guess that's something I might have to map out myself. I lost all my binds not too long ago and had to make them fresh. This is the default sheen with a few things added to it, but one of the things that I've been using that I wanted to demonstrate was the incorporation of VoiceAttack. For those of you who aren't aware, it's a voice-controlled input software that'll press buttons and keys on a voice command. But some program developers have gone one better, and they've developed a voice pack with a very simple AI that basically incorporates a talkback function to the already existing VoiceAttack program. They're calling it A.S.T.R.A. So just to demonstrate, we'll talk to A.S.T.R.A now. A.S.T.R.A, wake up.
Initiating.
Okay, now what that's done
orders.
is that's turned on the voice control. I can also say, A.S.T.R.A, go to bed. A.S.T.R.A, go to sleep.
Yes, sir.
Go away, A.S.T.R.A. Okay, I have tried to incorporate a few different variables on voice input, but to be honest, I can't remember what all of them are. But the standard can also be voice on and voice off. Voice off. It doesn't appear to be working either, which brings me to a very important point that I wanted to demonstrate. I'm actually kind of glad it did that when it did. Just adjusting my microphone here. I got a condenser mic, and as you know, the cages on those things are finicky. There we go. It really is not the most functional program. It might be because of it doesn't understand the way I talk, or that I haven't properly programmed my speech engine. But it just never understands me, and I'll ask it to do things, and half the time it'll work, and half the time it won't. So it's a good thing that the controller incorporates all of the important functions and kind of makes it redundant. I know people using the Oculus sort of lean on it because they can't see their controller in their hand, and you know, it's varying levels of skill. Some people are really good with controllers and some aren't, but in my opinion, the Gamepad is enough. Especially if you have that keyboard input that I was talking about. You're no longer going to need it. I don't want to bash on it. It's cool for immersion. It's nice for showing off when people want to see the game, but that's all it is. Let's just be honest here. It's really not very good. It takes me longer to say something than it does for me to hit the button on the joystick. And there is depending on your sound configuration, there's a moderate delay. One of the things I like to do, which I find fun, is use it for role-playing commands, and that's probably the best function for it. It will answer certain questions based on the expansion packs that are installed, and they are very specific, so you're pretty much forced to memorize exactly what to say and how to say it. So again, it's really only good for trying to create the illusion that your computer is smart. But sometimes when your hands are full of other functions, i.e. you're running away and you're trying to engage your hyperdrive, perhaps this one might be useful. Engage hyperdrive. Engage hyperdrive. Engage hyperdrive. As you can see, it's not even working. I'm just going to tab over to A.S.T.R.A here. A.S.T.R.A, wake up.
Initiating.
Now that's my fault, because I put her to sleep and I forgot to wake her up. Okay, so sorry for screaming at you guys on this video. Hopefully it wasn't too loud, because that is a pretty powerful microphone. Engage hyperdrive.
Jumping to light speed.
Love it. Now, I've programmed her with about 20 different ways to say that, because sometimes it takes me, I could have hit the button 20 times by the time I could remember what I was supposed to say. So fun stuff, but I mean, who cares, right? So, you know, as promised, that's included in the video. You can see, you know, the A.S.T.R.A works, but, you know, for those of you that think like, oh, you're gonna be able to control your whole ship without having to touch your keyboard or your mouse or whatever, think again. I've even gone as far as to program her with throttle settings that they had actually set up in there, but the game by default had turned those keys off. By rebinding the keys, I was able to get her to control the throttle, but I mean, I've only used it successfully in a situation where it was actually beneficial to me, maybe a couple times. So as it stands right now, I'm just using the left and right bumpers on the gamepad, L1 and R1, for my throttle control, because you know, it's better. She can be programmed to open up the galaxy map and that sort of thing, which I suppose is useful, since those buttons aren't typically bound onto your joystick directly. So I might set that up. We'll attempt to use A.S.T.R.A for stopping here. I'll give her the command. For the amount of control you have to do when trying to drive in Super Cruise, it's very finicky. The software is not, it's just not responsive enough to make this many throttle adjustments per second or per minute or whatever. It just doesn't work very well. So buyer beware. I mean, VoiceAttack was only $8. And the A.S.T.R.A pack was roughly the same price, so it's a moderate investment for some mild entertainment value, I suppose. I know with the updates it is getting better and better. I just can't be bothered to spend any more days of my life in utter agony trying to make this thing work. So I wish you well if you try. Sorry, we're caught in the gravitational pull of this planet here. Disengage.
Disengaging jump.
Now let's find out if that actually worked, because it looked like I flew past it. It did, but we're not very close. So far away. Super Cruise. Activate Super Cruise. See, she's even no good for that. And this speech engine just is absolutely terrible at understanding you too. It works a lot better with a headset, mind you. It just doesn't understand anything you say. I mean, if you like fiddling with things and you like feeling frustrated and you want to pull out a little bit of hair, that's a good way to start. This whole game is actually kind of a reason to pull your hair out right now. Great, like you know, it is without a doubt the best unfinished game I've ever played. I can't even. It's very frustrating sometimes. Especially in a ship this slow, I'm literally flying circles around my target. If you guys want to see a grown man cry, this game. Okay, well, apparently I'm not going to be able to stop here, so just give me 1 second. Now, why, oh why? it says it's targeted, but it's not targeted. You can see that, you just want to pull your hair out. You just want to scream at how bad some of the bugs are and some of the utter glitchiness. At the very least, I can say that it doesn't happen very often, and the Gamepad controls are pretty good. One of the things that can make the game more forgivable
request granted.
Is the docking computer. This makes docking a lot simpler, but since you guys are watching this because you want to see how a Gamepad holds up, we're going to turn off that docking computer. And we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. The docking computer changes, it resets your system balance, which is really annoying. Hopefully they change that. Activating the landing gear.
Deploying landing gear.
Turns your L2 and R2 bumpers. We just brought out our hard points.
Landing gear deployed.
Your bumpers become your side thrusters. That was my mistake for having hard points automatically deploy when you pull the trigger. You actually really need to turn that off. That would be my suggestion. So, up and down on your right analog stick, your thrusters, while the yaw remains, which makes positioning your ship in docking mode a lot simpler. Some people have a hard time with it. I just did a terrible job here, but as you can see, even for the fact that I'm not really into it right now, I've been using a docking computer that you can very easily dock your ship and control your ship with Gamepad. There's no problem there at all. So we'll be repairing here. And we'll be entering the commodities market. And then I have some cargo here. And we're going to sell this. And then we're going to take a look at the galaxy map again. And this time we're going to go over the filters. So controlling the galaxy map with the Gamepad is actually great. The left analog stick here and the right analog stick here. If you hold the square or your top left button up and down on your left stick, as so, left and right, up and down, okay. And as you can see, I have a trade view right now showing trade routes. And I'm going to take a quick second to just explain how this will make using a Gamepad a lot simpler if you don't have a keyboard and mouse on your Gamepad, as in the situation as I am in right now. So narrowing down your search options is very important. As you can see, the grid will allow you to highlight things that aren't actually directly on the grid. This makes targeting on the map a lot simpler. So we're on this here, but we want to go to LHS 411. And I'll explain why that is in a second. I just want to show you that you can have your both systems, as you can see here, on your map without actually having to use that square up and down, keeping it in the middle. you can target both of them pretty easily without actually having to type in any information or touch a mouse and keyboard. Without pressing this select button, just hitting the plot route will keep your camera stationary. Now using your L1 and L2 bumpers, you can navigate your panes as in every other UI function in the game. It's good to remember that. Going to your view option and switching from realistic to map, you can actually filter your trade routes, but if you press left and expand that, you can go into the specifics of which commodity in that group you're trading. I've narrowed it down to the 2 trades that I'm doing currently in the metals and medicines category, as you can see here. Now, what this has done is it is only showing me the information that I want to see, and as you can see, it has joined these 2 star systems as well as any other star system connecting. I can see all, and I don't need to use my mouse and keyboard to do it. And by doing that, it's easy if you lose where you're looking for you to say, well, I know it's one of these ones. Okay, well there it is right there. So completely functional. Exiting out using the circle key is fast. In some ways this controller is faster. So hopefully that was helpful. Navigating between your menus with your circle key. So forward, bringing you back, forward. While you're docked, your D-pad becomes the default control for your UI, which means you can't change your systems, engines, and weapons. A way around that is when you undock at the point where you press the button and this menu here is no longer visible as such. You relinquish all UI control and can use your D-pad to change your systems. So up, left, right, and reset being down as they display. It's a really quick way to access them, just like you would on your keyboard. When undocking with the landing gear, press up on your directional stick and you can move it to the left and to the right to turn yourself. When ready, circle down, quickly disable your landing gear, and you can press down on the left stick for a boost to your engines.
Comply.
For some reason I activated my cargo scoop there. Playing around with the controller. The cargo scoop is circle up.
Cargo scoop deployed.
Landing gear circle down.
Cargo scoop deployed.
Nice and simple.
Cargo scoop retracted.
Targeting with the triangle key. Holding down the square left and right changes your sensor zoom. Square down to jump to hyperdrive. Square up, I have actually bound to super cruise. You might find that useful.
Engage.
Having a separate super cruise button wasn't default mapped, but it's important if your path is blocked by a planet or something, and it would take a really long time to fly around it, and you don't want to untarget what you have targeted and target something else to have to go back and target that because you've plotted out a trade route or something, right? Having that mapped out there, or even through VoiceAttack control, if you can manage to get it to work, is really helpful. Then when you're aligned with your target, you can always square down to engage hyperdrive and continue on your way. One other thing you've probably noticed is that my user interface is a different color from the default. This isn't something that you can do directly through the game options. This is something that you're going to have to edit a configuration file to do. There are many guides online on how to do this. A simple Google search of changing Elite Dangerous HUD will yield yourself at least 100 results on how to do it. I'll try and post up a link in the description for the trading tool as well as the HUD color change option for those who are interested in that. The trading tool will make life a lot easier for locating trades in your area, and I'll be doing a video demonstrating on how to do that as a follow-up to this video. So hopefully this helped you all see that the Gamepad is definitely more than a viable option. It may even become a preferred method of playing Elite Dangerous, as keyboard and mouse isn't exactly the most comfortable gameplay option for a game such as this. So thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for that follow-up video on how to use the Elite trading tool as well as the HUD color change option. Talk to you then. Bye.